All right, we are live. We're good to go. This is the first time I'm live streaming to two locations at once, one to YouTube and one to Rumble. I am encouraging people that if they want to chat, to definitely join up on the YouTube channel. If you need to get that, again, just let me know. Just send me a quick email. I can send you an email right back in response with the link to the YouTube channel where you can comment. For those of you on Rumble, it'll be I don't have the ability to see comments from Rumble in this studio. So awesome, we are running. Let me just make sure that everything is connected properly here, and as people are coming on, if you could just comment, let me know where you're calling in from, and we'll get this show on the road. Oh, I'm getting a few other emails saying that they want to come and partake. So let me just follow up with them and make sure that they can come in. Thank you to those who are coming on. I'm just letting you, I don't know how long you guys have been on, but I'm just going to quickly email back some of the other people here that have said that they want to partake. Awesome. Linnea is in. Oh, got lots of people saying they want in. So it's going to be a couple minutes here as we're letting these people know how to access the call. Okay, yeah, someone's getting two messages. What? Good morning, Glenn. How's it going? All right, I think everybody's been notified now, but I'm going to keep my eye on the email there just to make sure. All right. So today we're going to be talking about the bigger picture. You know, we've got a world of chaos that is ensuing around us, and arguably it has been going this way for several decades, but of course we notice it more so today. It's more public, it's more in our faces, and it's fascinating to watch because as these things are coming forward, I have absolutely no fear to the things that are happening, and a lot of people are very scared. And so, as a component of the work that I'm doing in helping communities unify and helping communities organize and being able to support them in accessing tools and resources that help them self-govern, this is an area of our lives that I recognize cannot be ignored. We have this physical experience, and it's how we interpret everything that's happening. And there's this danger that we have as people to take the things that happen to us and provide a specific meaning to those events and a specific meaning to the hardships or the successes that we've had. And when we do that, we start creating attachments to those meanings where it's like, well, let's give you an example. There's a old story about a gentleman who is on the bus, on a train, like a city transit, and I believe this was in New York, if I remember correctly. But on the train, he was watching across the way a man with some kids sitting there, and the kids were kind of rambunctious. They were running around, kind of misbehaving, being a little bit disturbing to other people. And it was getting louder and louder and louder. And the guy was just not doing anything. It was like almost absent, not even paying attention. And the gentleman got up and said, sir, excuse me, sir, like you're going to have to do something. Like your kids are running around here and they're being bothersome to everybody. And the man kind of shook himself out of his mental state or whatever he was doing. And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. We just left the hospital where their mother died and they don't even know what's going on yet. And I'm still trying to figure out how to piece my life together. I'm sorry." And brought the kids in and kind of hushed them down and stuff like that. Well, obviously that changes the perception or the meaning that we gave that situation the moment we find out the truth of what's happened. And the man who told the story said, when I realized what was happening, I felt foolish for making a judgment that the man was being negligent. We have, and this principle though isn't different to what we experience in our own lives. So we have this tendency as people to take what happens to us and create a meaning about what happens to us instead of just being present with what happened. And that presence with just being present to what happened allows you to see things in different lights or see things from a different perspective. And that and multiple perspectives, because it could be this, it could be that. I mean, it just happened, but technically the meaning of what happened can be quite different. I'll give you another example. Some of us can probably relate. The ending of a relationship or maybe a divorce. Maybe it was not good. Maybe it did not go well at all. And there was a lot of hurt that was inflicted by both parties during that breakup. I've experienced that myself. In fact, as a result of that, I even ended up homeless for a while. And it was something that I really struggled with. I took it to mean that I was a failure. I took it to mean that, I was a bad dad. I took it to mean that I was a terrible partner. And whether those things are true or not is not important. My mind ran with a story and ended up even self-fulfilling it in many cases. Now, why do I talk like this? I thought this was supposed to be more spiritual. Well, the reason I talk about it is because everything we experience in this physical world, really, everything, is an experience that we create through the language that we associate that we use to associate how we interact with our five senses. Our five senses. That's how we receive the information and make interpretations of that information. We create language. We create power of those situations with our words. And the reason why I start this spirituality conversation, I guess, I don't know what to really call it. The reason I start this with that is because if we take a look at the totality of everything, not just the things that we experience with our five senses, but everything that could possibly exist, we find that there's a lot more potential of possibility in the things that we cannot perceive or experience with our five senses. There's even science that shows this as well. Did you know that our DNA strands that we have, the knowledge that we have of our DNA strands only consists right now, at this time, only consists, verifiably consists of about 5% of our entire DNA. So everything that we experience, everything that we perceive as far as this physical body goes, only applies to about 5% of the code within our DNA. That means that there's 95% of the code of our DNA that is not related to our physical experience. Why do you suppose there is such incredible push and intention communicated to us to expose ourselves to products or even medical treatments that have the potential of changing your DNA? Why do you suppose that is? I don't know. I don't know the answer. But I just find it interesting, the correlation between how much potential we have, how much potential is completely undiscovered. We don't know. That other 95% of our DNA code is something that we don't know how to translate. We don't know how to figure it out. The only thing that we know is that it exists and that it has to do with something other than the physicality, because the physicality has already been attributed to, like, all of the physicality that we have has been attributed to only 5% of this code. That's it. We've got a lot of work to do. We have a lot of discovering to do. And so this session that we are launching here for 11 o'clock on Sundays, first of all, I don't want this to be a me show. I don't want, and nothing that I work on, I want it. Nothing that I work on do I want to be a man known as Paul show. I'm just a guy. I'm just here figuring stuff out. I've learned a lot of lessons. And the lessons that I've learned and the lessons that I'm learning are helping me in miraculous ways. And people ask me many times, well, how is it that you stay so calm? I mean, did you not see that, we've only got 25 days, 26 days left of diesel, and then all the reserves are gone? And the amount of diesel that is currently in circulation will only last for about 6 days. That means that we've got about, 30, 31 days left before we don't have diesel. Well, if we don't have diesel, that means that we're probably not going to have gasoline, because the only way gasoline gets to the gas station is that diesel delivered it. Why do I look at things so lighthearted? Why do I look at things without stress? I've got stress. Of course I do. But I also know where that stress comes from. That stress comes from the meanings that I give the situation. See, I come up with this idea that, well, if there's no gasoline, then I guess we're not going to be able to drive. Well, yeah, that's true. But what does that mean? Nothing. It just means that we'll be here at home. Well, what does that mean? Nothing. It really technically means nothing. It just means that I'll be here. Now, one might say, well, what about the electricity? It's going to go out eventually. Okay, what does that mean? What meaning do we put to this idea that we're not going to have electricity? It doesn't mean that we have to be cold. That might mean that we have to learn how to stay warm, but it doesn't mean that we have to be cold. And so the fear that we put around these things that are impending, that's what debilitates us. I mean, technically speaking, there I was, homeless. There I was, destitute. Going from basement suite to basement suite once I was able to afford a place to go. I was living out my prophecy. My own meaning of my situation was just being manifest every single day. And through this work, through this journey of learning to detach myself from the meanings that I give what happens to me, the moment I did that, things started to change. I took my skills, my expertise, and I went to the library and I used a computer using their internet. Now, of course, it's not my computer, so I couldn't save a bunch of stuff on there and all that. That wouldn't be right. And I don't think that I could have even done that. I'm not really sure how that works. But what I did was that I through the power of the internet at a library computer, because I didn't have one and I didn't have my own internet. I didn't even have a place to stay for a while. I was living in my car. But I would go to the library and build websites. And my first job that I ever got was actually Jack and Michelle. Here, how do I see this there? Jack and Michelle at Ageless Fitness. They responded to a Kijiji ad that I wrote from my phone while I was in a Wi-Fi service at Starbucks in the parking lot because I couldn't afford to go in if I wanted to. See, I stopped putting meaning to the situation, that I was a loser, that I was good for nothing, that I was, a homeless dude. I put so much meaning to what happened that I actually lived it out. And we know that this is how it works. I mean, we've heard all the things about The Secret and law of attraction and all these things. Like all of these principles, we know. Like if you're going to think that way about yourself, of course, that's going to be the experience that you have. So since we know that that's how it works, I would like this session on Sunday mornings to be one of collaboration with everyone. I'm more than happy for people to be more involved than just with comments. And not that I think that comments are bad, but that if you wanted to join me here and have a discussion face to face on this service, I would love to have you. And together, let's talk about what we're learning in this idea of who we are and what this experience is like here, and how it pertains to an experience that we could have that is far bigger and certainly far more important than that 5%. 5% of our existence. 5% of the very fabric of our experience here is physical. That's it. I want this to be a place where we explore what the other 95% might look like. And to do that, I believe that it's going to require us to unlearn some things about ourselves, some of the things that we've said that we are. We have to unlearn them. What's coming is going to take a lot of people by surprise. What's coming is going to disrupt a lot of lives, for sure. And the reason why is because we have this human condition of attaching meaning to what happens. Most of the meanings that we attach to what happens to us is actually ego-driven. And as a result, any action that we take from a place of ego is probably not going to work out that great for us. And so I'm looking forward to these conversations where we begin to ask questions and share with each other what it is that we're learning as it pertains to creating a different experience, where when we see things that happen to us or see things that are happening around us, that we recognize those things for what they truly are. Lessons. They're just lessons. Every time I have ever felt worry, every time that I've felt concern, stress, anxiety, especially when it pertains to relationships. I can give you an example. I'm not going to go into super huge details. I'm happy to, but I'm not going to go into super detail. But this week was very, very stressful for me and Taya. Very, very stressful. And once the stress was kind of subsided and we got through that challenge, there were more challenges. that we weren't done. There was a whole other pile of challenges that came forward, and it was a direct result of my having attached meaning to a lot of the things that stressed us out. And it was fascinating to watch from an outside perspective because I can do that sometimes. I can kind of, I don't want to say leave my body, but in a sense look at myself from a higher perspective, from an outside source. And I was like, man alive, I am really, really hung up on this specific language. And it's holding me back from learning a lesson. So I asked myself at the very peak of the stress where I was, my mind was racing and coming up with all kinds of scenarios that were completely fictional. But in that very moment, I was like, wait a second here. What do I need to learn? And as soon as I asked that question, all of the stress almost like it disappeared. I mean, the stressors were still there. The problems still existed. The happenings still happened. But the moment I asked, what is it that I can learn from this? Everything became a positive experience because I was looking at it from a perspective of I can learn something from this. I know I can. I just need to find it. And that simple shift transformed the entire week from something that was very stressful. And yes, we still have things to deal with regarding this last week, but it was stressful, but it's not anymore. And I think that we can probably relate in some way, shape, or form with our own lives. But one thing that I think that we can all relate as a collective is that these past 3 years have been very stressful. Some things have happened that are just not good for us. They don't serve us. At least that's the definition that we've given these things. And as a result, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of disorder, there's strife. People are short with each other. Politicians are getting more strict. People are getting more angry at politicians. It's mounting to the point where people aren't sleeping at night. It's mounting to the point where people are getting so stressed, they're getting sick. Some families have been torn apart. And it's happening on a global scale. But the good news is that people like you are on little things like this. And you are on a journey of discovery. You're on a journey of learning. You're on a journey of lessons. And the lessons that you're learning right now, there's only one responsibility that we have with these lessons. And that is that we teach what we learn to others. Consequently, that's actually the model of the education systems that are coming forward out of all of this. The ones that are being reborn, the ones that are being built in response to the lessons that people have been learning. And what we're learning is that this concept of teaching what you learn to others is amongst the highest callings that we can possibly have because of how much service that is to others. You're going to be able to teach people the things that you learn here way better than I ever could. That's why this isn't a Paul show. I want my work to be your show. These are your lessons. These are your teachings. And together, as we learn and we teach, we learn more. In fact, even the act of teaching helps you learn more. That's all I have. This is my invitation. If you have any comments, go ahead and type. And if you want, you can send me an email. I got my email on the side here. You send me an email, and I will be sure to. Um, I'll be sure to. If you want, to join me on the call, rather, I'll be sure to send you the link where you can join me in the studio, and together we'll chat. And if you want to, and if you don't want to do that today, that's okay. Again, I'm only able to see the comments that are brought forward on YouTube. So if you want to text me, go ahead. It's super short. Again, that's what I wanted to do. This is more of an introduction to what it is that I want to do here on the Sundays at 11. So and if there is nothing, well, then I'll see you guys in the next email. But I'll wait here another 30 seconds or so, see if there's any other input. Thank you, Glenn, for always. I love it whenever you're on, you're always letting me know that you can hear me. It's always helpful. Once we're done, once we close this session out, the links will be generated and I'll be sure to share them in email as well. Feel free to share that with others. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. I'm so excited to see where this journey takes us. And yeah, everything's going to be all right. Things are going to be chaotic. But there's a lesson. Everywhere there's a lesson. And when we recognize that we are not our experience, that's not who we are. We are not we're told that we are the sum of all of our experiences. Yeah, with a physical body. In that world, that's how we define ourselves. But we are far more than anything that we've discovered up to this point. So thank you. Have a wonderful week. And well, you'll see me in some of the other emails that I've got coming up. I'll talk to you later. Oh, here are some comments. I'm sorry, I got some comments. Just as I was clicking out, I noticed the comments. My most rethought that I often talk about the mind-body connection. It has recently cured that first is spirit, then ego, then body, and one affects the other. Yeah, it has recently cured, maybe discovered. Is that what you meant? That first is spirit, then ego, then the body, and one affects the other. And Glenn, yes, we are manifest consciousness. Yeah, totally. Everything that we manifest is a direct result of our consciousness, but the manifestation only consists of about 5% of our DNA. And so this is going to be such an incredible journey of discovery. What is in that another 95%? Who knows? We've only just begun to scratch the surface of the scratch on the surface of what's possible. First is spirit, then ego, then the body. Yeah. First is spirit. And ego creates the language around that experience as spirit. You know, we've got this complex of cells and the brain and the organs and everything that makes that system work. We've got so much wrapped up in this experience that our ego thinks that this is all there is. And then the body gets created and we have this existence that we have, like, and when I say the body gets created, I do mean that very literally. You know, I'm not saying, you know, the body gets created in the womb. That's something that's a completely different wow. Like, that's a very completely different wow. What we're experiencing today is what we create. This physical body regenerates itself, and no cell that is in your body is older than 7 years old. That means that you created this body, and we create it as a result of the way that we think. So I'm sorry for, yeah, thank you so much, Audrey-Lynn. I'm sorry for missing that just before I clicked out. As soon as I went out, I saw the people drop. So I'm hoping that this still gets to get attached to the video. But again, thank you so much to all of you. See you on the next one.